Hey everyone, bageltcg here, and I hope you're having a great Bright Light spoiler season. We've got pre-release coming up this next weekend of October 1st. After that, the weekend after, we have release for Bright Lights. I know I'm super excited for this set, and I'm really grateful that LSS is giving me the opportunity here to show off some new spoiler cards from Bright Lights. And I think these are going to be really, really strong boost cards, and I think they're also going to be pretty core to powerful turns in Maxx. So first we've got Expedite. This is a zero cost boost card. Always good. T-Bone sees play. I think most zero cost boost cards are going to see play. 0 for 3 with boost, making it have go again, but it has a really good on hit of when this hits, you can put an item with cost 0 or 1 from your hand into the arena. Now, Expedite already has boost. It already has go again. So if you're putting a card with Crank into the arena and you're activating the Crank ability, you will have 2 action points, which is super, super strong. And we actually also have a second spoiler card, MetX, which is part of the same cycle as Expedite, but this one comes in for 4, which is a nice break point as well at the cost of an additional resource. This one costs 1. But a great break point, and this is actually, usually breakpoints aren't too relevant in Mechanologist because you don't have a lot of on hits, but this one does, and it's not a bad on hit at all. You can throw, most items don't have go again on them, so you get to just put an item right into the arena without using an action point. And if that item had Crank, you actually get a bonus action point. So you can do really powerful things, shoot pistol multiple times, throw multiple max velocities, throw an extra item out with that action point. Lots of really powerful things. I hope all of the Maxx players really enjoy these cards. I think maybe most mech players are going to like these cards because it is a quite good on hit. But I think especially with Maxx and Hyperdrivers, this card's going to be really strong. Thank you, LSS, for letting me show off these cards. And if you guys want to stick around for the rest of the video, I'm going to try to make a theory-crafted version of the Maxx deck, at least with what we have so far. I know we've got maybe a bit of cards left, but I think we can have a pretty good shell at least to look at what a Maxx deck is going to be. So yeah, thank you everyone for sticking around for the spoiler. We're going to hop into February here and kind of look at what a Maxx deck is going to look like. I think you're going to always want Banksy as the weapon. They made it a specialization for a reason, and 1 resource for 3 damage is quite good, even if you do have to crank to make it happen. And it even has a nice on hit of when it hits, you can get a steam counter. A steam counter is worth like 1 extra damage or 1 resource when you put it on a hyperdriver. So you can get about 4 points of value out of Banksy every turn if it hits. And it works well by pitching a blue because you can use the first 2 resources on Max's hero ability, where you can pay 2 resources to make a hyperdriver token with 2 steam counters. You do have to boost to do that, but I think he's going to be a very boost heavy deck, obviously. So you can pay those 2 resources, make the hyperdriver, crank it using the rest of his hero text to get that action point back, and then you can use the 1 floating to attack with Banksy. I think that's a pretty consistent strategy that Maxx is probably going to be using basically every turn. With the other equipment, I think, at least for now, Achilles Accelerator seem like quite a strong option. They're kind of the Snapdragon scalers of Mechanologist. They give you an extra action point if you boost it, which is quite easy to do. Just like the spoiler cards I just revealed, this is another good way to get action points, and one of the other easy to obtain ones in Mechanologist. And it has Arcane Barrier 1, which doesn't hurt either. We're going to have Teklo Foundry Heart as our chest piece. This has been the best mech item or equipment for a long time. It blocks for 3 total, and it gives you some extra resources every turn. Really nothing to complain about there. I do think we're going to use the new legendary headpiece to Hyper X3. This is quite strong. When you banish a hyperdriver from boosting, you get to put it under this. And once per turn, when a hyperdriver is put under this, if there are 3 or more hyperdrivers under it already, you draw a card. I don't know if the 3rd one draws a card or if it has to be the 4th and onward that draws a card. Not exactly sure on the text there, but either way, those are both quite strong. We'll probably play all 9 hyperdrivers in Maxx that you can play, because not only does he synergize really well with hyperdrivers already with his hero ability, and he already gives them all crank, but drawing free cards is nice, and the further you get into your deck, the more you boost. You can just make sure you're always pitching those hyperdrivers, and you'll start drawing some extra cards and have some more and more powerful turns as the game goes on, which is nice. Mech, at this point, the only arms that they really played was Galvanic Bender or maybe Goliath Gauntlet, but I think Adaptive Plating, the other new legendary, is actually a better arm piece. It blocks for 1 with Blade Break, but it has Galvanize, which says when this defends, you can destroy an item you control. If you do, this gets +2 block until end of turn. So Maxx already makes a ton of hyperdriver tokens. You can just destroy one of them when you need to block really badly, and this will end up blocking for 3 total, which is quite strong. Now, I do think the rest of Maxx deck is mostly just going to be aggro boost. I do think we're going to want most of the stuff that cares about hyperdrivers. Big Bertha and similar cards, I don't think we want in red because they're a bit expensive, and 3 for 6 is not exactly the most efficient rate. But I think we want most of the other, like I said, crankshaft as well. But I think we're going to want most of the strong red attacks. Let's see. I think you definitely want Heist. Heist is a bit interesting, though, because if we're banishing our hyperdrivers and putting them under our headpiece, we're not going to have them to target with Heist. This actually might be better if we're stealing. It depends on what other items we're playing. I'll put this in the sideboard because if we're putting our hyperdrivers under our hero or under our headpiece, we don't want them. We definitely want every hyperdriver though, and we want the 3 jump starts. The basic, 0 to 60 zipper hits and throttles are already the best rate mech cards, and so the hyperdriver ones that pretend to be like that are our next best thing. We want the max velocities. This is the highest output card in mech. And then we want Pulse Wave Harpoon. This is one of the only ways to disrupt. We want these 3 rev ups. These are just like the Jumpstart we just had, where it turns into a good mech card once you have a hyperdriver, and we should always have a hyperdriver. We want all of the 0 cost boost cards. These cards are all quite good and have a decent effect. This one can be a 0 for 4 if you banish one of those hyperdrivers. T-Bone will always be a 0 for 3, but it can have a pretty good effect of taking some of your opponent's equipment. And then we want all of the classic boost cards. These have the best rate in the game. So we want the throttles, the 0 to 60s, and the zipper hits. There are a lot of other cards that synergize that are non-attack. So there's quite a bit of items. We can see there's TikTok Clock that I'm missing here. This is a really good one at destroying your opponent's items. So this could be a sideboard piece. And then I think we missed it on the previous slide here, but there's cards like Quickfire that cost 1 less for each hyperdriver you control. These non-attacks are great, but if we are a deck that's trying to get off max velocity, I think we want to be basically all attacks plus hyperdrivers. I'm sure you could play a very different version of Maxx that might even be better, that does not play max velocity at all, but plays a lot of those beneficial +4 non-attacks, because they are quite good, but I don't want to play them and max velocity. Now, I think we want these Construct Nitro Mechanoids in the sideboard. Against control decks, I don't think we're going to be able to kill them just by boosting, because boosting does go through your deck really fast. So I think maybe Construct Nitro Mechanoid could be a pretty good sideboard card into slower decks when we need to finish them off. I'm not sure if we want the yellows of Big Bertha and Crankshaft. I'll put them in, but we might only want the blues, because they're not a card we ever really want to attack with if we can help it. Usually yellows aren't where we want to be. We do want all 9 hyperdrivers though, so we'll throw those in. And then I think maybe yellow 0 to 60 could be good too, because it's just another 0 for 3. We definitely want the blues of all the things that when they banish, you get a seam counter on a hyperdriver, because they're just really solid blues that also have a nice effect when they banish, so we'll take the crankshafts as well. We want the blue hyperdrivers. And then we have this really cool card called Hyper Scrapper that got revealed. It does synergize, or has some anti-synergy, I mean, with the headpiece a little, because this wants to have your hyperdrivers in your graveyard. And we're often banishing them to put them under our headpiece. But since it's a blue 3 block, I think it's fine to play anyways. And then if we end up actually playing out some of those hyperdrivers, we only need to end up playing out 3, I believe, to get this going off. So maybe we can play out some and banish some of them. I'm not sure how the anti-synergy is going to work out, but it should be okay. I'm not sure how many cards we're up to at this point. We're up to 54 already, so we've almost got a full deck. And I just showed off, this actually works out perfect. I just showed off 2 cards that I think would definitely be played, which is 3 copies of each, puts this exactly to 60. You probably want to cut these Big Bertha and Crankshaft yellows, because yellows are just not where you want to be, and maybe put other blues in. So for now, I'm going to put Throttle and 0 to 60 blue, because I think 18 blues is good. I'd rather not have those in the yellow. We'll keep yellow. We definitely want online hyperdrivers. Iffy on the 0 to 60, but we've got 6 open slots. I'll say you put all 6 of the cards I just revealed in red. I think they're going to be really good to this deck, and that's a Maxx deck right there. I think this is already, just looking at this, going to be one of, if not the best aggro deck in the game. I mean, it's going to be up there for sure. It puts out a ton of damage really consistently. I mean, the rates are really good. You get 0 to 4s, 1 for 5s, 2 for 6s, and then you get second copies of that with Jumpstart and Rev Up. You get a bunch of 0 for 3s and 0 for 4s, and then you get Max Velocity, which is, the best attack in the game for damage. 2 for 10, just absolutely insane damage there. And you even have a good weapon attacking for 3 every turn on top of that. So seems really, really strong. I'm super excited to try him out. I've always thought Boost Dash was pretty fun, and I think they just needed a little bit of extra push, and obviously Bright Lights is going to provide that. But thank you guys so much again. I hope you enjoyed this little bit of theory crafting here. I hope you really like the spoiler cards, and I'll see you guys next time.